The other day, I was thinking about problematic faves. You have any of those? That's where you have a favorite artist or athlete or whatever, but there's something distasteful about them that makes you feel like you can't fully embrace them. You can't enjoy them without feeling guilty about it. That's actually what got me thinking about it, because first I was thinking about guilty pleasures. I made a short video about this not long ago, how if we used the phrase guilty pleasure to mean what it actually sounds like it means, a guilty pleasure would be like a movie where a bunch of animals were killed during the production, or a song that was written by a serial killer. But instead, when we say something's a guilty pleasure, we mean we like it even though it's kind of cheesy. And problematic faves is a similar phrase. I use that phrase differently than most people do. For most people, a problematic fave is like, oh, he's my favorite singer, but he cheated on his wife. And I'm sorry, but my bar for what qualifies someone as problematic is just higher than that. He cheated on his wife? Granted, it's not a very nice thing to do, but what's that to you? Are you friends with his wife or something? Empathy for someone in a tough situation is one thing, but I don't know, I think you have over-identified with this complete stranger, maybe. I actually like it when I hear about a famous person cheating on their partner, or committing some other venial sin. It's reassuring in a way. Celebrities aren't that different from the common folk after all. You always hear all this dark, depressing shit coming out of Hollywood, but every so often, adultery. That's nice. Alcoholism. Failure to pay income taxes. See, it's not all blackmail and child trafficking. In many ways, they're just like us. Let me tell you who one of my problematic faves is. David Copperfield. Since I was a little kid, I have loved David Copperfield. The magician, not the guy from the Dickens novel. In fact, I love David Copperfield, the magician, so much that when I first learned about the novel and found out that David Copperfield, the magician, wasn't in it, I instantly lost interest. I still haven't read it. I haven't even seen any of the movies they made out of it. What the fuck do I care? David Copperfield, the magician, levitated and vanished a train car. He made the Statue of Liberty disappear. Does that other David Copperfield even know any card tricks? What is the point? From my childhood through my teenage years, the annual David Copperfield TV special was something I waited for all year long. I've seen them all. I even got a bootleg DVD set about 10 years ago that had the ones that were on before I was born. The Escape from the Water Tank, Walking Through the Great Wall of China, The Escape from the Imploding Building. I've seen them all, and I loved every one of them. Even the Bermuda Triangle one. Why don't people like that one? He made himself disappear inside a tiny pyramid, and then when he reappeared, he brought a big-ass, rusty old boat back with him. Just made the thing appear out of thin air. It was awesome. And he was on Mr. Rogers. But as time went by, I started to notice things that gave me pause. For example, he bought his own island in the Bahamas. And that just never turns out well, does it? There's nothing illegal about a person buying their own island, but it's a red flag. You can't help but ask, what's he need an island for? I've never felt like I wanted a whole island, even if I had enough money. I don't think I'd buy an island with it. Having your own island is such a suspicious thing to do that it never even works out in fiction. All those Jurassic Park movies take place on islands, and it always goes tits up eventually. There's no story where the hero finds themselves on a remote island and it turns out everything's just fine there. James Bond doesn't return to MI6 from the villain's island lair like, false alarm everyone, I had my doubts too, but I checked it out and it's all above board. The assumption is you get your own island because you're planning on doing fucked up stuff there, stuff that you don't want people to know about, stuff that, if you did it closer to civilization, would be a lot harder to get away with. Take, for example, the guy I'm sure most of you thought of the second I mentioned people having their own islands, Jeffrey Epstein, billionaire financier, sex trafficker, private island owner, and oh yeah, apparently friend of David Copperfield. I guess all the private island guys, they hang out. They know each other. It's a good icebreaker in conversation. Hey, so things on my island are great. Just put in the new helipad, installed some extra security cameras. Haven't seen a cop in 5 years. It's awesome. How about you? How's it going on your island, Jeffrey Epstein, my friend? That's me imagining I'm David Copperfield talking to Jeffrey Epstein. When I was a kid and I imagined what it would be like to be David Copperfield, I always assumed it would involve more wholesome activities, like twisting a woman's head off, or cutting a woman's body into several pieces, or forcing a woman to squeeze into a tiny box and then stabbing her with swords. Guess I was just being naive. We know David Copperfield was friends, or at least acquainted in a friendly way, with Jeffrey Epstein because he appears in court documents related to the Epstein case that were released to the public earlier this year. Those documents include a deposition from a woman who was one of Epstein's victims. Among other things, the woman's testimony says that David Copperfield once came to dinner with her and Epstein at Epstein's place in Palm Beach, Florida, and did some magic tricks, and even asked this woman if she knew that Epstein was involved with sex trafficking. So, no matter which way you look at it, Copperfield doesn't come off very good here. If you assume he asked this woman about the sex trafficking stuff because he wanted in on it, or was already in on it and was feeling her out to see if she was part of it, then he's a monster. If you assume he wasn't in on it and didn't want to be, the fact that he asks her about it suggests that he knows what Epstein is doing, and he's apparently okay enough with it to still come over to Epstein's place for dinner. That's not great. And leaving all of that aside, Copperfield did magic tricks at the dinner? Was it like a little private show he put on for Epstein and his guests? Or was he just like doing sleight of hand at the dinner table? Because if it's that second one, and I say this as someone who grew up loving David Copperfield, that shit would get old so fast. David, I know your spoon didn't magically appear under your napkin, okay? I saw you palm it while Jeffrey was telling everyone about how the final cost for soundproofing the guest rooms was so much higher than the estimate. Just eat your goddamn soup like a normal person. That's me imagining I'm talking to David Copperfield at a dinner party at Jeffrey Epstein's house. Even without the Epstein connection, though, David Copperfield, illusionist and private island owner, would still be a problem because he's also been accused of sexual assault at least twice. And at least one of the alleged assaults took place on the island. Nothing good happens on private islands. David Copperfield has unequivocally denied being guilty of these crimes, though I'm not sure how much that's worth. Of course he denied his guilt. You don't buy a private island to do crimes on and then confess. And one of the accusations was investigated by authorities, and a federal grand jury dropped the case without filing charges. And later, the woman who made the accusation was charged with making false allegations in another case. So maybe we can ignore that one. But given the terrible treatment shown in this country to people who report sex crimes, especially sex crimes committed by the rich and famous, that's a big maybe. The other accusation didn't come out until 2018, but refers to something that allegedly happened in 1988. According to the accuser, who was only 17 at the time, Copperfield drugged and assaulted her after one of his shows, then got her to write a letter saying that she was okay. The woman told her best friend, her grandmother, her ex-husband, and her husband about the incident over the years. Copperfield says it never happened, and it's been 6 years and no charges have ever been filed, but again, thanks to the appallingly shitty way we handle sexual assault accusations in this country, that doesn't mean it didn't happen. So yeah, you want to talk problematic faves? We can talk problematic faves. Who's yours? The star pitcher of your favorite baseball team who got caught doctoring the ball? An actor who had a notorious meltdown on a set? A comedian who used to do homophobic material? The magician I've loved since I was a small child owns a private island, was friends with Jeffrey Epstein, and has been accused multiple times of sexual assault. Beat that! No? Never mind, please don't try to beat that. It's not a contest. The point is, I know all of those things about David Copperfield. And a few times a year, I still take those bootleg DVDs off the shelf and watch those old TV specials. And that's not all. I know about the things Kevin Spacey and Bryan Singer have been accused of doing. And, probably did, but I still watch and enjoy Superman Returns. I know about what Charlie Chaplin did, and since someone always asks when I bring up Charlie Chaplin, he had a thing for young girls. Like, upsettingly young girls. I know about that. I've known about it for years. I still adore his work and revere him as an artist. I'm not saying it's okay. I'm not saying it's not okay. It's just a fact about myself. In those cases and others, I can separate the art from the artist, or the art I enjoy from the art I don't. In other cases, I can't. I'm not super eager to watch The Cosby Show these days. When I'm watching wrestling from 25 years ago and a Chris Benoit match comes on, it feels uncomfortable. I can watch it and appreciate it, but it's not the same as it was before all of that. Hell, WWE as a company, professional wrestling as an art form even, is one gigantic problematic fave. The people who have owned and operated WWE have done so many bad things throughout its history, ranging from questionable to undeniably evil. Pro wrestling in general has a legacy of corruption and neglect and fraud and racism and misogyny and abuse and on and on and on and on, an endless variety of gross impropriety, and I still watch it, and I still love it. Knowing all of that, not excusing any of it, I still watch it and I still love it. The common thread connecting most of my problematic faves is that I found them when I was relatively young, and I didn't learn about the problematic stuff until much later. Perhaps that's the case for you and your problematic faves as well. Nobody says to themselves, I think I'll go see the new movie directed by that rapist. Well, almost nobody. I'm sure some people say that. The world is a fucked up place filled with fucked up people. But generally, that's not how it works. You see the movie first, and then later on, you find out that the director or the star or the writer or whoever is a huge piece of shit. You get attached to something as a kid and only realize as an adult that one or more of the people who made it were garbage humans. That's how problematic faves are made. I bet a lot of you Harry Potter fans know what that feels like. You read the books, saw the movies years and years ago, maybe when you were kids or teenagers. Then, just within the last few years, you realized, oh shit, the person who wrote those books is a massive bigot. And then you had to deal with it. Some of you separated the art from the artist and kept right on loving Harry Potter with a clear conscience. Some of you couldn't do that or didn't think it was right to try and said, okay, fuck Harry Potter, I'm out. And some of you acknowledged and accepted the fact of the author's malignant intolerance, but didn't want to throw Harry Potter away because even though the creator turned out to be a horrible person, and even though your knowledge of how horrible she is has forever tainted her work, that work still means something to you. It still has value to you, apart from its creator. Separating the art from the artist sometimes requires effort, but other times we do it without even realizing it. Parents know all about this, although for them it usually runs the opposite way. The art has value to you not in spite of its creator, but because of who its creator is. How many of you watching this right now are parents who have proudly posted a finger painting by your kindergartner on the refrigerator? You didn't care about the artistic quality of the painting. The painting itself is probably garbage, but that doesn't matter. What matters is celebrating and encouraging your no-talent kid. Art from artist. We all have our problematic faves, even those of us fortunate enough to have never had children, and we all draw our own lines to define what we're willing to live with. The lines you draw for yourself might be different than the lines I draw for myself. That's okay, as long as we respect each other's boundaries. For me, I mostly enjoy my problematic faves in private. Years and years ago, I made a video celebrating Superman Returns. That was before I knew about all the allegations against Spacey and Singer. I still love that movie. I probably wouldn't make that video today. Part of me would love to do a full video essay about the magic of David Copperfield, about what those TV specials meant to me, about how watching magic, and specifically Copperfield's magic, inspired my interest not only in magic, but in the mechanics of narrative, and how if an artist, a performer, can induce you to suspend your disbelief for those few minutes, or even just for that one crucial moment, you can experience genuine wonder while watching something you know isn't real, and how that's the true magic of storytelling. But to do that, I'd either have to ignore the troubling things I know about David Copperfield or make space in the video for a disclaimer where I acknowledge the allegations and his chumminess with Epstein and make it clear that I'm not making excuses for that and that I'm also suspicious of the whole private island thing, and that throws cold water on the whole let's admire the magic concept. So I keep my long-standing childlike love of the magic of David Copperfield mostly to myself. And in the future, if I feel like making a video essay celebrating a magician, I'll just pick a non-problematic one, like David Blaine, or Chung Ling Soo, or one of those irreproachable pros at the Magic Castle.